everybody, how's it going? I'm Michelle with the Landscape Connection. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is the first week in January. I hope everybody had a fabulous Christmas. I felt like I was running 100 miles an hour all through Christmas. I am actually kind of glad that it's over so that now I can take a breath and kind of start planning for spring. So I'm Michelle. We are in Northern Illinois, Zone 5, and if you love our videos, please subscribe down below and like our videos. Please give us your comments because we learn from you as well as you learn from us. So with that, today what we're going to do is we are going to be planting some bulbs up in containers. I was so busy that there was some bulbs, I just didn't get them in the ground this fall, and I don't want to waste them, so I am going to get them in the ground or get them in these pots. So one of the things that we're going to do is I have 2 packages of daffodils and 2 packages of tulips that didn't get done, so right around 100 bulbs. And the daffodils are the mid to late bloomers. I don't always like to get the early bloomers because I feel like if they get covered with snow or we get one of those crazy windy storms in the spring, it kind of takes them out. So I like them to bloom a little bit later. So I'll time some of these to go with some of the early tulips, and then you can kind of have them blooming together, and that's a nice thing. So what I've done here is I have a pot, and I've actually put some potting soil in here. I'm actually just using the Fertilome Ultimate potting soil. I really like this. It's light, it's airy, it's got a good mix of perlite in it, so I really like it. But what I'm gonna do is I am gonna pre-moisten it. And so I'm going to add some water into this, and I am gonna pre-moisten the soil. And I wanna get it so that the soil is wet, but not dripping. So I wanna be able to make a ball with it when I'm done and have it kind of hold together but not squeeze any water out in my hands. So I'm going to get this all nice and mixed up. And when you're planting in a container, you can actually go a little bit more shallow than if you are planting in the ground. So typically the rule of thumb when you're planting a bulb is however high that bulb is, you want to plant it 3 times that deep. So what does that mean? So if it's a 2-inch bulb, you want to plant it 2 times 3, 6 inches deep. If it's a 4-inch bulb, then let's see, 4 times 3 would be 12 inches deep. So that kind of is the rule of thumb for planting them. Now, when you plant them out also in the landscape, you want to make sure that you plant them and you fertilize them after you're done planting them and water them in. I'm going to be using a Biotone starter fertilizer. I like this fertilizer just because it's organic. And oh man, I just use it on everything. I just really like it. So I'm just gonna mix it up in here. And I'm about, 4 inches from the edge of the bowl here. And I just need just a little bit more water, not a lot more. Okay, and so as you can see here, now that I'm done mixing this up, see I can turn it and see I can get it to ball, but see there's no water coming out of it and I'm squeezing it pretty tight. So that's what you're looking for. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna tamp it down just a little bitty bit. Now this pot did have a drainage hole in it, so whatever pot that you're using, you do wanna make sure it has drainage. This one had a hole about this big around. And so what I did was I took a coffee filter and I put it in the bottom of the pot. And that way I still have water that will come out the bottom, but it'll stop all my dirt from falling out. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna actually plant some daffodil bulbs. And you can see here, you've got a grow point right here, and you've got a mass of roots down here at the bottom. So this is actually 2 bulbs. When you get your bulbs, you wanna make sure that they're nice and firm. You wanna make sure that they're not mushy. They shouldn't put off an odor. They should be pretty firm, okay? So this is a true bulb, and it's got that nice coating on it, and that's what helps protect the bulb. And so you know that the grow point goes up and the root base of this goes down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix these 2. I have a Bella Estrada. The Bella Estrada is 14 to 16 inches. It's a white daffodil with a yellow throat. I really like it. And I'm gonna mix it with a double. And so this is the double Sunrise, and it is a yellow daffodil, but it's got like bits of orange in it. So it's got that sunrise look to it. So I'm gonna mix the 2 together because they're both bloomers that bloom mid to late season. They're both about the same height, and I'm just gonna kind of come in here and I'm gonna go every other one, and I'm gonna plant them pretty close together because I want this to be a really nice showy pot when I'm done, and I want it to be really full of daffodils. It'll be absolutely gorgeous. And then when this starts to bloom, I'll be able to transplant it into the landscape after that. Let's see. Yeah, that one's good. Okay. So I'm actually getting a lot of them in here. Let's see, how many did we get in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and we're gonna put 17. Let's see if I can find a single in here. A lot of these are doubles. Here we go. There we go, 2 in the middle. So as you can see here, I've got them planted pretty close together. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover this with soil, and I've already pre-moistened some soil down here in my little wheelbarrow. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm just gonna cover them with soil. And then I'll probably water them like every 2 weeks. I'm keeping them out here in the greenhouse. It's not heated out here, so it kind of acts like a cold frame. If it's, 20 degrees outside, it's 30 degrees in here. The sunnier it is outside, the warmer it is in here. So this actually does really well out here for forcing the bulbs, because I want them to still go through that cold period. So daffodils need a cold period, and I have these in the cooler, so they're still gonna have their time to go through their cold period. When they're in the ground, typically here you're gonna plant them sometime from mid-October to mid-November before the ground freezes. You wanna get them in the ground. Daffodils, for the most part, want probably 12 to 15 weeks. 12 to 15 weeks of that cold, and that's gonna help set that bulb so that it'll come up in the spring. So I will come out here every couple weeks and check these to make sure that they're watered, and then I will water them as needed. And then as it starts to warm up in the greenhouse, because we just kind of let it naturally warm up in the spring, these will probably bloom a good month earlier than all the other daffodils that we have planted outside, because they're going to warm up faster. It's a shallower dish, and we're just going to let these bloom. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. When they're done or while they're blooming, I can actually lift them up out of the pot and put them in the ground and just let them die back naturally in the ground. Or I can wait till they're done blooming in the pot, then I can still put them in the ground, let them die back naturally, fertilize them when I put them in the ground, and then they'll be good to go, and they'll come back next year. That's one of the things I love about daffodils, is they do naturalize. So you have the ability to not have so many issues as you do with like tulips or hyacinths, where the squirrels might come and eat them. So this one is done, and I'm just gonna move this one over. Okay, the other thing you can do is I like to do little windowsill boxes like this. And this one I'm actually going to do, and I'm gonna do a mix again of the daffodils, and I'm gonna go every other one. But what I'm gonna do is I'm kind of gonna go right down the center here, but I'm gonna stagger it just a little bit. And I'm gonna put these shoulder to shoulder in here, because I want this to come out, right down here, like in a double line. So we've got one color in the front and one color in the back. And then after these come up, then I'll add pansies to this to frame it. And this will actually go home. And I have this little bench at home that I love. And I love to put little different arrangements on it. But this will be a spring arrangement that I'll use at home on that bench. And so again, you want to make sure that you're seating them in there with the grow point to the top and the roots to the bottom. Okay, so as you can see here, I have a row here and a row here. And now I'm just going to fill the top with my soil. And this soil that I pre-moistened down here in the wheelbarrow, you gotta love that I gotta go up and down. This already has biotone in it as well, so I already added fertilizer to that. And you can see that I'm planting a little bit below the edge. I'm about 1 inch below the lip. And the reason I'm doing that is so that when I do water it, I don't get water going all over the place. Plus, I also know that I'm going to be adding pansies to this. And it's okay if like a little tip is showing. See, there's a little grow tip right there. That's okay, because you can get away with being shallower again in the pot than you can in the ground. So this one's ready to go, and it's going to come up right here in the center, and then I'm going to put that pansy ring around it. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. All right, so this one's done, and we'll move this one to the other side as well. All right, right, I got one more here that I want to do, and this one here, instead of doing daffodils, I'm actually going to do tulips. And so I have 2 packages of tulips. One is a Menton. Let me grab them. Okay, so this is I actually got all of these bulbs from Color Blends. And I like the Menton tulips. It's this beautiful pink tulip. It's kind of got like this orangey salmon ridge on it that looks really beautiful. And they're actually a really big tulip. So sometimes the tulips I've had them get as big as my hand. And I've had great luck with these. And I really like them. They are a later blooming tulip, and they're going to get 20 to 24 inches tall. So I'm going to plant this one with all Mentons. And again, you have the tip, which is the pointy end, and you think that's what goes down, but it's really what goes up. And then the rounded end goes to the bottom. And so actually, you know what? I think I need a little bit more dirt in here before I get going. I don't think I made it quite deep enough. Okay, here we go. And I'll steal some out of this pot here. All right, there we go. I think it would have been a little too shallow. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm going to run 2 rows all the way down because I want to be able to plant something else around the outside edge in the spring. And whether I decide that I think I want to do this one with stock. Stock is so wonderful smelling. And so I ordered some stock in for the spring. And I think that's what I want to run along each edge here. So I have white, purple, and pink all coming in. And I think if I did a combination of all 3 of those with this beautiful pink tulip, I think it will be gorgeous. Now, the one thing that happens with tulips, especially in our area, they don't naturalize as well as a daffodil bulb. And so a lot of times I might only get maybe 2 or 3 years out of the tulips, and then they start to peter out. And so I always plan for that. I like doing them in containers because I know I can control what's going on with them. I do have some in the ground, but I have trouble with the squirrels digging them up. And even though I've put the mesh over the top, I've done a lot of different things. I've tried chicken wire, they still get in there. And they still come up. They don't get them all, but I do know that I like doing them in the pots and then moving them into the ground, and then I'll get another year out of them that way. And then these give me my nice, fresh spring color around the house that I just love. So here you can see I planted all 25 of them in this container in double rows. So they're gonna come up through the center, and then I'll be able to put the stock around the outside edge. And again, I'm going to take some dirt that I've already pre-moistened, and I'm just going to cover them up. This again also has the fertilizer in it. I'm about, a ½ inch below the lip here. And I'm just gonna tamp that down just a little bit. I'm not really pressing it really hard. It's nice and fluffy, okay? And so now this one is done. Now the other thing I should have done is I should have labeled what I'm doing. So this is Tulip Menton. I made a little label for that one. And then this one is the Bella Estrada. And since I did them both, the Double Sunrise. All right, so this one I'm also going to put in this one here so it's nice and labeled. Okay, so this one is done as well. And this is also a daffodil with the Double Sunrise and the Bella Estrada. So that's what I have in this one here. I'll get so many pots going in here, I won't remember what I did. So I have another bag of daffodils here. And this one here, I'm actually going to do in this container here. And the reason I didn't mix the tulips is because one is a late bloomer, whereas this one is an early to mid bloomer. And if I try to put them together, they won't necessarily bloom at the same time. And I really want whatever's in the pot to bloom together. So on this one here, I do have to add a little bit more dirt since I stole the dirt out. That dirt's feeling very, very, very frozen. So this one was actually in the greenhouse, so I'm going to use this one instead. Here we go. can actually get some dirt out. All right. And again, I've made it deep enough so that I can still get the bulbs in there. And I'm gonna add some of my starter fertilizer to this. I am making a hot mess out here. Tina's gonna come in, she's my greenhouse girl, and she's gonna go, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Okay, and then I need some water. All right. So we're gonna pre-moisten this and just get it wet enough. So one of the reasons that I pre-moisten is if you don't, it's really hard for this much dirt to absorb all that water, and it just makes a hot mess. And when you're just top watering, it's really hard to get the water to go all the way down to the bottom. All right, that's good. See, I can make a clump, but I don't squeeze any water out. All right, so I'm gonna get all 25 of the bulbs in this one as well. Now, this one is called Best Purple, and this one gets 20 to 22 inches high. It's a mid bloomer, but in my opinion, this is the best purple out there. It's kind of a dark purple, but it's a nice solid color. And so I just love this one. I like to mix it with yellows. In this case, because I didn't get them in the ground, this is gonna be just a solid purple. I'm gonna get all of them in here. And I'm putting them in here pretty much shoulder to shoulder. And again, the pointy end goes up. And I'm just gonna keep putting those in there. Now, a lot of people will say, it doesn't matter if they're upside down. That has not been my experience. My experience has been is if you plant them upside down, they stay upside down. I've never really had good luck with them turning themselves around and riding themselves into the right direction in the soil. So I just make sure when I plant them in the right direction. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, they're all in here. Okay, and then I'm gonna have to pre-moisten some dirt. And so I'll be right back. All right. Don't need very much. I took my potting tray home, so I'm making this hot mess because I don't have my potting tray here. And then I didn't realize I didn't have it until after I got going. Okay, so this one is now done. And this is Tulip Best Purple. Put a tag in there. And then I am going to take this sticker off of here. I wish they'd put the stickers on the bottom instead of on the side, because you always end up with this discoloration where the sticker was. And then it takes it a couple seasons to go away. Okay, now as you know, I like terracotta in the winter. I like it in the summer too. Terracotta is unglazed, so it's going to help hold the moisture in here in the winter. Now in the summer, it's the opposite, and it'll wick the water out of your soil. And so I usually will line it with like a plastic liner to help with that. Or I'll use something that's more drought tolerant. But in the winter, they're great for tulips, even the low azalea bowls. I didn't have any of those, but I like those as well. So now these are gonna stay out here in the greenhouse, and we'll keep you updated on those periodically as we go out. I'll give you a little peeks at those, but I can tell you they probably aren't gonna do anything for at least 8 to 10 weeks. I'm just gonna water them every 2 weeks, keep an eye on them, make sure that they don't get too warm out here, because sometimes if it's really warm outside and the sun is shining, it can be 20 degrees warmer in here. So if we end up with like a 50-degree day, it can be 70, 75 degrees out here, and I might have to grab them and pop them outside, but we pay attention to that all the time. So I've made a huge mess, but that's okay because I can clean it up. And I think that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope that you learned something. And if you didn't get your bulbs planted and you've kept them like in the refrigerator and they're still in good shape, go ahead and pot them up in some pots and you'll still be able to get some beautiful flowers for spring. So I'm Michelle from the Landscape Connection. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.